Room 304 at Mercy General Hospital was closed in 2003. The hospital itself shut down 2 years later. But Room 304 was sealed off immediately. Welded shut. No explanation given to staff or patients. Nurse Jennifer Walsh worked at Mercy General for 11 years. She never went near Room 304. None of the nurses did. Not after what happened to the Anderson twins. In September 2003, Sarah and Emma Anderson were admitted with severe pneumonia. They were 8 years old. Identical twins. The hospital was full, so they were placed in Room 304, the only available room. The nurse who checked them in quit the next day without explanation. That first night, Sarah woke up screaming. She said there was a man standing at the foot of her bed, tall, wearing a surgical mask, holding something sharp. But when the night nurse came running, the room was empty, just Sarah and Emma. The nurse assumed it was fever dreams. She was wrong. The next night, Emma saw him too. Same description. Tall man, surgical mask. This time he was standing between their beds, staring at Emma. When she screamed, Sarah saw him too, for just a moment before he stepped backward into the wall and vanished. The nurses wanted to move them, but administration refused. The hospital was understaffed, overcrowded. The twins would have to stay. Just 2 more nights until discharge. Night 3. Both girls woke up at exactly 2:47 a.m. They didn't scream this time. They couldn't. They were paralyzed, unable to move or speak. The man was there again, but this time he wasn't alone. There were others behind him, wearing the same surgical masks, standing perfectly still, watching. Then the man reached out and touched Sarah's forehead. She felt her body go ice cold, felt something draining from her. When he moved to Emma, she experienced the same thing, a pulling sensation, like something was being extracted from inside her chest. The paralysis broke at 3:03 a.m., exactly 16 minutes later. The girls screamed until nurses came running. But here's what the nurses found. The girls were fine physically, vital signs normal, but the room temperature had dropped to 41 degrees in September, with no windows open, and every piece of medical equipment in the room had turned on by itself, heart monitors beeping, 4 pumps running, all without being plugged in. But the worst part was the surgical tray. It was sitting on the table between the beds. No one had brought it in. It was covered in rust and dried blood, and on it were instruments, old instruments, from the 1950s, instruments that had been disposed of decades ago. The twins were moved immediately. Room 304 was emptied and locked. Hospital security reviewed the footage. The camera showed the girls sleeping, then suddenly screaming. But nothing else. No man, no figures, just the girls alone in the room. Yet the temperature drop was visible on thermal cameras, and the equipment turning on was recorded. Objects moving by themselves. Hospital records were pulled. Room 304 had a history. Between 1952 and 1968, 7 patients died in that room during routine procedures, all under the care of Dr. Richard Marsh. All the deaths were ruled accidents, equipment malfunctions, human error. But nurses from that era reported something else. They said Dr. Marsh continued his work after hours. Unauthorized experiments. Procedures that weren't in any medical textbook. Dr. Marsh died in 1971 in room 304 during a night shift where he was alone. Heart attack, the report said, but the nurse who found him said his face was frozen in terror, and he had scratches on his arms. Deep scratches like he'd been trying to fight something off. After the Anderson twins, 3 more patients reported the same experience. The tall man, the surgical mask, the feeling of something being pulled from inside them. The hospital sealed the room. When Mercy General closed in 2005, room 304 was the only room they welded shut from the outside. The building has been abandoned for 20 years. But urban explorers who break in all say the same thing. Stay away from the 3rd floor, because room 304 isn't empty. You can hear movement inside, metal scraping against metal, and if you press your ear to the door, you'll hear it. the steady beep of a heart monitor, coming from a room with no power, in a building that's been dead for 2 decades.